If you've been watching YouTube anytime in 2022, 2023, you've probably had this shoved down your throat. This is what you want. This is the new trend. Why is that? I've got some theories about it. Let's go inside, take a look at this Bolt SAS 2 TAC 4 1/4 with the dot on it. And I'm gonna give you some theories as to why everyone's talking about them, why maybe you should give it a thought too. Coming up next on GBGuns. Back in from the range where we can have a little more conversation with a little less background noise. So what is it that makes this combo what everybody's talking about and everybody's pushing here on YouTube? All the gun tubers and probably your enthusiast shooters with disposable income are talking about a double stack 1911 with a red dot as the way to go for just about everything. And there's some valid reason to that. For me, the discovery, at least of sort, or where I think this came from, hit about 8 years ago when I first got my hands on one of these beauties. Don't bother trying to find one. They are incredibly rare finds, but this is an SPS Pantera. It's a double stack 1911, 5-inch barrel. You can see we've got a full length, heavy dust cover, big, thick bull barrel. This is a competition pistol. And as such, not only for competitors seeking for something better, but companies building these competition guns competing against one another, there was this constant fight to have a more refined trigger, to have better recoil control, to have better ergonomics, all these features, back and forth fighting, and then price. And enthusiasts, especially when ammo was cheap, didn't mind spending more money on a gun if it was going to give them a little bit of an edge in competition. So you had stuff like this. Now this is dated perhaps by modern standards. It doesn't have a rail, it doesn't have a red dot. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because when this was produced, that was not the thing. But these are spectacular guns where someone who really understands shooting and shooting fast has put effort into giving you that little bit of edge. In this case, weight balance is a big thing. We've got lots of extra weight out front. The polymer down here making it lightweight makes the gun a little bit nose heavy, and that helps reduce muzzle flip and perceived recoil. Now this is before a lot of modern grip technique was really becoming the norm, so we don't have any traction point here. That's a minus that I would give this thing. This big heavy bull barrel also adds to mass up front and makes the reciprocation of the slide feel light. You can hear how little play there is in this thing. See how beautifully machined it is? That all goes into having that smoother recoil and slightly smoother shot to shot, makes for slightly faster split times. So the competition, the race gun, is really what drove these things to become better and better and better, using really a relatively ancient, the 1911 design, just updating it with some things for competition's sake. So how does that relate to what we're seeing on video? Well, let's fast forward almost a decade of development on pistols like that, as well as introduction of tactical and the advancement of tactical accessories, things like lights that are actually powerful and worth carrying, things like red dots that are reliable enough and now affordable enough. And when you combine those with this platform, you have a pistol that is very pleasant to shoot and very easy to shoot. And I think that's one of the big reasons why they've really taken off in popularity. Now, the dot doesn't require the same discipline, training, or experience to shoot well as irons do. It also helps us remain target focused, which in defensive scenarios is probably what's going to be happening, is your brain, while you panic, is going to be looking at the bad guy, and you're going to have to remind yourself to look at sights. Whereas looking through a window at the target seems a little more naturally intuitive. Now, my reasons for not carrying a dot are many, and I've explained those in a previous video and article. But on the range, dots are lots of fun. We've got rail slots now that accessories have become decent, and we take all that and mix it in with the pedigree of these double stack 1911s that came out of the competition world, and shooters who have been dealing with spongy striker fired triggers or triggers that are too heavy, etc., find all of a sudden they're rediscovering that ancient 1911 design with a straight back trigger and crisp break is really nice to shoot. Not only is it nice to shoot, but it makes it easier to shoot accurately because you can time that shot. That shot goes when you intend it to, and you've got less shooter-induced error in your grouping because you're not pulling or having to squeeze too hard on the trigger to get it to fire. So wrap all those things together and you've got a platform that makes it easier to shoot better and easier to shoot quicker. That's why I think we're seeing this combination pushed and the platform of the Doublestack 1911 kind of making a resurgence because it's been around for a long time. It's nothing new, and this is definitely not an early one or the first one. There were quite a few being used in competitions and in some instances for a tactical application long before this thing came about. This was just my first introduction to it. Now my first handgun was a 1911. That's what I learned on, but 1911s are tanks to haul around for carry. It was an all-steel gun. It was 45. You got 8+1 rounds, weighing a ton. The polymer guns and the striker fire guns, smaller, lighter, higher capacity, especially 9mm, which is what we're seeing these things come out in. So it was an easy and logical sense for me to move over to striker guns. But now that we have so many makers of guns like this, like Bull Armory, prices have come down a little bit. Or maybe it's that relatively prices have gone down because as ammo prices have come up and we've seen prices of everything else come up, this thing, which when I got it was a $1,400 gun, that was mind-blowing to me. And as you can see, I've taken good care of it. And still one of my favorites and a treasured pistol, but that was a whole lot of money. My finances have changed, but more importantly, $1,400 is no longer crazy. It's no longer the high end. You can see pistols for $3,400 these days. And when your average squirted plastic polymer frame striker fired gun is going for $400 to $600, yes, this is still double, maybe even triple the cost of one of those, but it is not as big of a jump as it used to be. Shooting is also a bit more expensive these days because ammo prices are more than double what they were back when I got that SPS Pantera. And so I think our pain threshold for spending on guns has changed quite a bit. I mean, look at how many people scream about getting a $300 pistol that's red dot ready, knowing darn well that they're probably going to spend $200-300 just on the dot. We see flashlights going for those prices as well. So the cost threshold has changed. The increase in manufacturers has made them more available. And really it is, I mean, one way to look at it is sort of cheating. Another way to look at it is realizing your potential. A pistol combination like this, and if you throw a heavy dot on this thing, it's even easier to shoot because you've got all that weight hanging down here. That's why you see that in a lot of YouTuber videos. Guys do that because it makes them look like they shoot better and they have a better time shooting. And why not, right? Enjoying shooting is supposed to be part of what it's all about. Enjoying shooting also builds your confidence, and confidence is a big reason why we have defensive tools anyways. Let me flip that around. If you don't have confidence in your defensive tool, it's a source of insecurity. So I'm not bashing, not looking to unravel the magic. I'm looking to create an explanation for a phenomena that we've been seeing that I don't think anyone else has really nailed down. With all of that said, would I recommend a platform like this as a carry or defensive tool? Yes. Yes, indeed, with some caveats. This is the Bull Armory SAS2 Ultralight 3¼ inch, considerably lighter than this 4¼ inch, but it has been my warmer weather carry gun. I don't carry with the dot, and I am using Liberty Ammunition 50 grainer plus P. not only to keep things light, because this is a 17 round gun, but the plus P also to compensate for that shorter barrel so that I know I'm getting decent muzzle energy out of the pistol. The caveats on that is running one of these guns requires a bit more diligence and knowledge than running your average striker-fired polymer gun. Reason being, these things don't like to be dirty, so they require more maintenance. The other is, when you've got a trigger like this, in a defensive tool, while you're under duress, while you're panicking, while things are stressful, super easy to torch off one or multiple rounds when on a, say, traditional striker-fired gun, you might not have fired a single round. The pros is, that means you're throwing lead. The cons is, that means you're throwing lead. Keep in mind that in today's society, every round fired in a defensive shooting scenario likely has at least one lawsuit attached to it. Even if you're completely justified, there's civil liability, all kinds of other things that get wrapped up depending on your jurisdiction, but it is a risk to be aware of. So, having a lighter, shorter trigger, easier to shoot pistol is something that I recommend for folks who have had training and build confidence and knowledge in their firearms and in themselves. That requires going to some stressful training. For example, Thunder Ranch, that T and I have been to a couple times, is a higher tempo, higher stress environment shooting experience, and it's done that way deliberately to help, if not simulate, emulate, I guess if that word can be used there, a little bit some of what you'll be feeling in a defensive scenario. As combat veterans, we understand that, we've experienced that real world, but though I've been in combat plenty of times in Afghanistan and Iraq, I do not doubt that as a civilian now, a defensive shooting scenario is going to feel more stressful to me than combat did back then. Back then, I had buddies, I had armor, I had air support, I had artillery, mortars. We knew we were going into a dangerous area. We went in prepared. Being an average Joe on the streets, relaxing, eating lunch or dinner somewhere, running errands, I'm not necessarily expecting a gunfight every time I walk into a store or a location. So that shock value is there, and that's what can make triggers like this a little more of a liability, and a platform like this a little riskier. So, my conclusion, enjoy these platforms, enjoy this setup. It is loads of fun. It makes shooting easy. It makes shooting rewarding. It shows you your potential. Shoot well with something like this, and then go pick up that 3-inch or 4-inch plastic striker-fired gun and try to shoot just as well. It's physically possible. It requires more effort on you, the shooter. If you want to carry something like this, be smart about it. You need a maintenance regimen. You need to keep the gun clean, and you need to get, I think, more training than you would with that striker fire. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. I'm sure several of you have already begun angrily typing or happily typing in the comments below. Let's have a discussion on it. While these things are all the rage, while this is what's getting pushed, how do you feel about that? Is it right? Is it right for you? Do you think it's right for everyone? What decision have you made, and have you tried a Doublestack 1911 with a dot on it? Because I can tell you, it's loads of fun. Thanks for watching.